Thanks for joining me for in conversation. Basically, it's you might have seen some of them. It's a chance for you to sit down and talk to us about. We talk to other creatives about the industry and your experiences, and a chance for you to talk through some of your work. So we can go straight from the start and just go a bit about your background. So how did you get into designing?
Yeah, no, cool. So my name's Mia Cooper. I'm 24 years old. I've always been like growing up, very like artistic environment. Like I think it is like just my mum. Totally surrounded that like painting as a kid, like then it went into like jewelry and like following little YouTube videos and like all of this. And then like when you kind of like, you're like 13, you go shopping and you're looking for things and I never like quite found what I wanted, and that was the kind of intrigue into fashion. And then it kind of essentially like took off, through school, you do textiles, you kind of then move into fashion. And I just really like uncovered this like love for it, this like love for this whole world, that I do feel like it's the second biggest industry, but I still feel like it's very secretive. So I feel like through my education, like that slowly uncovered it, getting to work myself in industry, like start exploring these like different routes, and just like absolutely adore it. And yeah, decided to be a designer.
So how long would you say it's been now then?
So I graduated in 2021, and then that was on a degree like directly in fashion. And then it's kind of like, it's taken different tangents, different jolts, but like being a creative since then, pretty much.
And that's like it's full time now.
Yeah, so I do actually work full time as a graphic designer, so that's what allows me to get to like venture and like try and become a fashion designer. So I'm working to launch my own collection. So like, yeah, that's what I've got going on.
Okay, and in those lots of early on stages, did you have like many influences?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, loads. I mean, like you could argue anything, like fashion is everywhere you look. You go out on the street. Like I grew up quite close to London, so I was in London a lot. You look at street style there. You look at celebrity culture that we're kind of fed as an influence, and then we're in this world of social media. So like whether like even if you're at home by yourself, you've then like unlocked this huge like torrent essentially. You've got Pinterest at your fingertips, you've got Instagram, you've got TikTok, you've got this world, and then you can go on Vinted and you've got this like vintage archive platform where you can go back and you can see all these looks. And then you've got Vogue, which again, like that catalogs absolutely everything. And everything just is at your fingertips, which I think is such a fantastic tool. I mean, arguably maybe a little daunting at times. I think for me as a designer, I definitely find that, it's there's so much available and you're thinking, oh my God, like, is there even space? Is there even space for me to like put my designs out?
Mhm.
Um, but like again, like we are so lucky to be like in this day and age where we've got all of this like essentially acting inspiration to help influence and guide us.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost endless, like with the amount of the stuff now and the different
Yeah, like it's
resources.
yeah, like it is totally overwhelming and it is insane. Like it's continuous, you think you kind of get on top of it and then like, you're down another rabbit hole. But it is fantastic, but it's.
Yeah, and I think there's also that with it's kind of a funny one. It's like pros and cons with, like you said, about the amount that's available to us now and like the different how we've got access to pretty much anything that's ever been uh, like created or anything like that. And then also you say about the how great opportunity to sort of get yourself out there and all that, but then it's also the competition is like there as well. So it's a bit of both, and it's very hard and daunting.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what what
no,
what?
but
Sorry, carry on.
no, but it's just like it is daunting, and it's also kind of like I guess learning to utilize it like for the better, like how it helps inform you as a designer, like your design choices, like we're coming into God, I hope like an age where like sustainability is at every like the forefront of everyone's mind. And I do think like people showing their practices, being more sustainable, letting that then influence your own design and your own practice. So like kind of have it like bringing on that sort of mindset. So I think it's how you use it. But yeah, swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, you just got to be intelligent with it.
Yeah.
So you're down in. I'm talking to you in London, aren't you? Is that you're based in
I'm
London?
actually I'm actually based in Cornwall at the moment.
Okay.
But I do a lot. I mean, like obviously, like fashion industry, like fashion capital London. Like I travel there loads for work. And I did actually used to live like what, like a 40-50 minute train from there. So like I grew up around all that, and I'm still up there constantly. So it's quite a like kind of like two very different lifestyles because like Cornwall's incredibly countryside, beautiful beaches, but it's one could argue best of both worlds. But it's yeah.
Yeah, do you find that very important to get to London? Because like you say, Cornwall's very it's a lot quieter and stuff, but I think in terms of getting stuff seen and getting out there, and like do you feel like that's really important to get over to London quite often?
Yeah, 100%. Like it is kind of, I don't want to say it's a shame because everything like is within London. Because like, it's only a couple hours away, but like it is maybe a little shame it's not bigger down like in the southwest. But like London's 4 hours away. And what's available there is everything. So like it's it's not bad at all.
Okay, great. Um, well, let's go into the first image, which was the one that we used for the cover actually, for the
Yeah.
in-room cover. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what was the idea behind this look? It's got a lot of kind of the drapes and
Yeah, so this is my corset. So essentially I'm working to release this like full collection. It's a capsule collection. And alongside working full time, everything takes absolutely ages to make. So I kind of like approached the whole job of it of like creating these corsets as a starting piece essentially. So there's three designs. So these I could then like get out, get into photo shoots, and then I could still continue like working on the rest of the collection, kind of to the public eye, stuff still moving and everything. And there's finished pieces, but I can kind of crack on with designing and toiling and going through that process. But so this is, I think it's the navy corset you're referring to.
Mhm.
And this was a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous shoot. And it's entirely down to meeting people online. Because I hadn't met, it was Olivia who was shooting and Adele who was styling. And I'd never met these girls before. We actually met through a platform called Assisting Work, which like to any creative, like, stylist, designer, photographer, if you're starting out, follow that platform because it's so fantastic to meet people looking for, what you can offer essentially, and find these opportunities and get yourself out there. So that's how we met. And this was like, for me, it was a fully remote shoot. So I was just sending garments in. But this is my favorite shoot, like from this collection so far.
Mhm.
I adored the styling direction. It was so like in tune with myself as a designer. Like I think that's really important when you're sending garments off. It's you make sure that the photographer you're working with is like, in sync with you as a creative. So what they create, even if you're not there, is gonna like resonate with your design aesthetic. And I remember seeing the previews come through, and they're just so like nail on the head with like the flowers as accessories, just like gorgeous, and like totally captured the essence of how I wanted the corsets to be used.
Mhm. Yeah, how did you because that was one of the things I was going to ask was about with like requirements or when you're sending items to be used. How did you was it just that you were chatting with Adele and Olivia and just kind of getting your
I
message
think
across of how you wanted it, or did you leave like a lot of it up to them for their
I like
interpretation?
so I think it was Olivia who was for looking for a designer or maybe even a stylist at that point. Because a lot of the ads I see, it's looking for a stylist, and I'll kind of just like poke my head in and be like, not a stylist, but I'm a designer. If you want any of these pieces, this is what I've got available. And then if you bring on a stylist, like I'm happy for them to take lead, however. And I think that was the approach I used with Olivia, and just put it out there, sent her this was before anything had been shot. So literally like taking photos of these corsets, I think like on my bed flat lay,
Mhm.
not looking their best. And I think, yeah, I think she loved them because there's three colors. And she had this kind of in bloom photo shoot planned. I think she sent me a mood board. And then I think that's when Adele came on, the stylist. So then I was like in communications with both of them, but really like the whole creative direction was on them as a team. And like, yeah, they just nailed it.
Yeah, they got. I mean, well, there's some of the other shots as well. And I think there's even ones with like the movement. You can see like the kind of the way the straps move and all that sort of stuff. So she seemed to definitely be on the same sort of page.
100%. And like what I do love, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love going to the shoots. I love being a part of the shoots. But what I do really like working with stylists is they'll kind of like not invent new ways to like wear pieces, but style it differently, like do different things with straps, things that like I hadn't even thought about when making it. I wish I had.
Mhm.
But it's such like a lovely way to see your pieces get used and like people's creativity still influence like how it's essentially presented.
Yeah, I suppose it's quite a nice thing that because it's yeah it opens up to sort of, like say stuff you kind of I've never really thought of it that way or anything like that. So yeah, having such like
Literally
another
that.
team kind of working on it, it brings different minds together.
Yeah, yeah, and it all works like for the better because it just takes it elevates something you've created and it brings in different mindsets. It's like the perfect blend. It's the best blend of creativity.
Yeah. Where did you with like the corsets and stuff? Where did you kind of get the ideas from for like the look of it?
Um, they kind of stemmed from like a funny little sabbatical I took last year because I had so 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 when I graduated, it was obviously 2021. It was, rife with COVID. It was a very interesting uni experience to say the least. Fantastic uni experience, but obviously like slightly warped by COVID being there. And coming into the industry, there really wasn't a lot available, which was just quite like, it's upsetting. You have this crazy 3 years of education, building and building and building. And then when you're kind of ready to go out into this world, there's like almost like no one there to receive you.
Hmm.
So finding work and finding a job like coming straight out of uni was very hard. And um I ended up taking on this started as a graphic designer and it was kind of a few days a week. And on the other side of that week, I was interning for at that point, startup fashion brand. And that absolutely loved. And it was so like, that was fantastic because I'm a designer. I got to do everything design, no sewing. I was in my element. Um, but then like, time evolved and the internship I was there for a year, and then when I ended up leaving, I went traveling for a month and I kind of just I'd been sewing, doing a lot of my own like designs and sewing, but I do really struggle with that kind of aspect, the sewing of it. Love the design all the time to like do the collaging, I love it. And then when it comes to actually like producing and making, it's like it doesn't come naturally to me.
Hmm.
So I had been making a few of these pieces and I was just like, nothing I was making was really like hitting with me. So I put it all to a side, just put on a bit of a pause. And then I went traveling and I took this tiny little sketchbook with me, and ended up just kind of doing like little sketches from places that we went. And like it ended up being a lot of corsets.
Hmm.
Um, so it was a lot. I've got this, yeah, filled of all these different corsets designs, similar to what you've seen.
Hmm.
And then when I came back, it was like, right, let's kind of give this another go. And let's start with these corsets. And it evolved really nicely, doing these three separate designs all built around the same kind of body. And yeah, that's kind of how she evolved to become one.
Yeah, well, I think there's a good point that as well about the going away and taking the break or holiday. But actually, like with your case there, it actually like kind of like freed your mind a little bit and let sort of like ideas flow.
Yeah.
So it does show it helps.
100%. And like just give yourself that, that time. Because I think with like fashion as a practice, it is, I mean, God, the amount of collections that come out, there's 2 fashion weeks every year. All the designers are releasing 2 collections, and then not to mention the kind of smaller collections that come out mid-year. There's so much coming constantly, constantly, constantly. And it's all so beautiful, but that kind of like the speed of it and how you fit into that speed, for me, I definitely find daunting. And I think, just having that space from it and kind of like almost like reevaluating, like, why are you designing? Why do you love this? Why is this your passion? And then going back into it, with a kind of fresh mindset really helped.
Yeah, well, clearly, yeah, and it's yeah, and that's that thing, and like you say, it's like whatever works best, and everyone has their own ways of working, and something like that. If that's something every now and again to do, and it kind of helps generate ideas and stuff, then yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah, you spoke then about like yeah, sort of like your the graduation degree and stuff. So I'll go into the second image, which was one of the items from that actually. Um, so I've got this was from your graduate fashion week in 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, was this for like the final project then?
Yeah, so like kind of across the board, across all like kind of fashion courses across the UK, all graduates. I think there are kind of options within, but essentially you're creating a final collection. So it's normally 4 or 6 outfits.
Hmm.
And again, it depends what uni you go to. But the majority of them have like a select amount participate in Graduate Fashion Week. So the whole year, like your final major project is like a collection of, mine was 4 outfits. So you go through the full process. So you really are like, you're mood boarding, you're designing, you're then toiling, you're constructing, and then it's how you present it. So then within our course we had I don't want to say auditions, that feels a bit rogue. Interviews. We had interviews
Yeah.
for gets
Mhm.
because we had 4 slots available for Graduate Fashion Week. So who gets to be part of that group. And you present your case. There was a board for us. Present your case, and then like we had back, and I got to do it. And that was really cool because it had been a bit of a bit of a dream.
Mhm.
Like I remember being in year 11, like GCSE year, doing textiles and just kind of hearing about Graduate Fashion Week, seeing some of like the people I was taking inspiration from doing Graduate Fashion Week. And I was just like, that's the coolest thing ever. I want to be a part of that. So then kind of getting to a bit of a small full circle, because it was only a couple of years, but still,
Mhm.
it's like full circle moment, and get to do it was fantastic. But it was a little jaded by by COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to kind of like remember that that's like work around it and stuff. Um, yeah, how did it feel when you got to see the items and stuff on the runway? How did that feel to actually see them again? There must be so much because so much time when you're like prepping it, but to actually see it on some of the models and then kind of walking down in the movement and stuff, how does that feel to actually see it?
Like gorgeous. Unfortunately, it was the computer screen.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was yeah, like you're supposed to go up to London, be a part of the models backstage, do the fittings and all that. None of that happened. So I was literally I had like family round. We watched it in the back garden on a laptop. Um, but it was really lovely. Like even then it was still really, really lovely. It's this very kind of euphoric moment where it all comes together. Like totally nervous to see it come down, and like also see how it compares against the other people on the runway. Like, you're not supposed to compare, but you can't really help yourself.
Mhm.
So seeing how it fits along with other people's pieces, and yeah, just like surreal. It was, yeah, surreal but fantastic.
Yeah. Um, I've seen as well on the your Instagram, I've seen it's been used in quite a few other ways as well, and by what many others. I think one of the shots I've seen was I think it was on like a male model, like I think it's like Edward Watson, I
Yeah,
think I looked on Instagram. Like how does that feel to kind of see it like used in like with different people in different ways as well?
so cool. Like yeah, because that coat that got around, but it did get around like in a really lovely sense. And again, it's that lovely feeling of people people taking their own creative license with it. Because initially it was women's wear jacket. So when that got called in for a shoot, it was 2 ballet dancers, both for the London Ballet Opera.
Hmm.
Um, so it was 2 ballet dancers, and you brief, and it was with L'Officiale Italia. And just, someone came, I think we ended up dropped off the coat, see any previews at all, which I always struggle with because, like, I love the shoots, and I do want to be there. I want to see what's going on. So like
Mhm.
that kind of like, you know, closed doors is always like hard. Um, and that one was actually a really lovely turn of because they did this big shoot. There was a bunch of looks they had to do. And then when the article was due to come out, I got a message from the stylist essentially saying, um, your piece won't be in the article. And I was like, that's fine, you know, like stuff like that happens. Can I still have the images just for like portfolio use and all of that?
Mhm.
Um, and because they weren't getting used, you weren't able to use the images, sort of was the kind of vibe.
Mhm.
And like that's so upsetting because it's like it's such a cool opportunity and like, you know, not getting to see any of it when they exist was you know, like oh
Yeah.
upsetting. But they had this God, I think the image did end up getting used, or a photographer posted it and then we were able to use it. Something like that. But I got to see the images, and again, like gorgeous. The way they used it, the ballet dancer was so beautiful. And like, you know, seeing it used for menswear, loved. Like it was just, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it's not like I said, it's nice to see it kind of have a different life and used in different ways. But it's good that you actually, yeah, you did get to see it because I can understand that. Like, it's still that anticipation and then the sort of, oh, the possibility of getting used for stuff. So I think, yeah, you do want to kind of see it used. But yeah, I mean, that I think that image of him was like incredible as well. So it's kind of nice that you did get to see it in the end.
Yeah.
Um, Going on to you've briefly you've kind of mentioned it when you said about going off on holiday and lot the ideas. But how do you kind of come up with ideas for new designs? Is it quite spontaneous? Is it just inspired by different stuff?
Um, it's kind of it's a blend. It's never as easy as just like, you know, sitting down with a sketchbook and like drawing something out and going, oh, it's fantastic, it's done. It's a big blend of, you know, hours on Pinterest, you know, going on Vogue, WGSN, which is like a kind of trend reporting platform, kind of trying to be informed by all these platforms, trends that are coming in, what we can use. I always try to take more of a like, I want to make stuff that would feel more timeless, not stuff that, oh, it's a fad and like, you know, 6 months and, you know, it's dated.
Hmm.
So kind of looking at all these different aspects, seeing what designers are doing now on the catwalk, and then all of that blended with just sitting down and, you know, with just with a little sketchbook and pencil and just drawing ideas, you know, trying to carry it with me, you know, like keep it like at the side of my bed in case there's like a strike of inspiration doesn't feels too extreme, but like, you know, you have these thoughts and you just like, I just need to jot that down before it goes. So I think it's just a blend of everything you see like in your day to day, and then everything you see in the industry, and then like your creative take on it, I guess.
Yeah, it's a long ongoing process, and like I
Yeah.
said, it kind of inspiration comes from anywhere. So it's good to have the notebook or anything by your side at all times, really. Yeah. Um, what's the kind of like a day in the life look like for a designer?
Yeah, so yeah, so like, you know, working full time, it's tricky. So like a lot of it is like full weekends, kind of set up in the studio. So for me, it is I've just brought on my first intern. So we'll do these full days together, and essentially get together in the studio. We'll normally do like a bit of a morning meeting, a debrief, and run through any news to catch up on the week. Like there's a lot, you know, with social media, there's a lot of like requests coming in, which is really lovely. Lots of like possible like networking, design opportunities, all of that. So we'll do a bit of a debrief. I'll normally prep kind of her, I guess, like day-to-day plan, which again, it's different every week. Her internship's focused on construction and sewing, which is fantastic because it's my downfall. So I can I'll write this list of everything we want to get done. And then I'll, you know, run her through what I'm doing because I think I really like that she's like kind of involved within the business, not just like executing design ideas.
Hmm.
So I had this big update. And then kind of like crack on. And a lot of our work blends together, you know, a lot of it is conversations, you know, how long does this need to be? Should we take that hem up? Does this need to be shorter? Um, all of that. So there's a lot of communication. There's like a lot of teamwork involved. And then amongst that, there's a lot of fittings, so like it'll be like, right, quickly go try this on, come back out and like, figure out, again, like, do we need to take that in at the waist? Do we need to drop the hemline a little bit? All of that. So, fittings and, sewing. And even though I don't like it, I still do sewing during the day. Especially now, like we're kind of gearing up for the end of the collection. So a lot of it is just like creating final pieces. So yeah, and then yeah, they're always really fun. They're always really different. Some days are like total wins and you leave feeling, euphoric and everything's moving in the right direction.
Mhm.
Other days you get these setbacks, which is always, disheartening, but yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all part of the process, and it's good to
Part
have.
of it.
Yeah, and like I say, to have someone, it must be like so nice to have someone alongside now as well, and also like someone who sounds like you kind of complement each other and sort of help out with any kind of, like I say, the stuff you're not as like familiar with or not as happy with, but you can kind of help each other out and stuff.
100%. And like my troubles with sewing was always like, it's very repetitive, like I said, like if you're taking something in on the waist, that's a toile that you have to mock up for then you to do that. Like, oh, I think I need to take it up at the hem a little bit more and then, do another mock up. So that kind of practice I really struggle with. And then having someone who's passionate as I am with design, with sewing and construction, having that for them and being able to be like, can we just, whatever it is, take it in, take it up, alter the pattern slightly, and having that person is fantastic. And like it's totally transformed how I work and like not trying to limit myself when I design as well, which I think is a really big thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's been brilliant and like life changing, but like it has been.
Yeah, it's good. It's brought that balance as well. Yeah, between the two of you. Um, how would you how would you kind of define your style as a designer?
Um, I'd say when I was at university, I was very much like it's romantic surrealism, and I loved that as a kind of like an aesthetic, which it was looking at like new romanticism, it was looking at feminism, and then I kind of felt that it was all kind of like brought on from like the surrealist art movement, way back when,
Mhm.
and the kind of blend and like forcing it into fashion was kind of described it. And I think I would still describe it as that now, to be honest. But I think it's also taken this like it's probably a contradiction to say, but like elegant streetwear. Like I
Mhm.
want people to wear it, walking through London and stuff. But I think everyone's kind of natural response when they hear streetwear wouldn't be what I design.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's developed really nicely into this. It's a bit more wearable. When you're at university, it's very, very conceptual. It's like how big can you make the silhouettes? How big can you make the structures? What's the meaning behind everything? And don't get me wrong, like I love working in that sense. Like I think I'm quite conceptual when I design. But when I had my internship with Imi Studios, she's a streetwear brand, and
Mhm.
that kind of like I guess it's a blend of the two, really. It's the blend of both, that I think has yeah, got me to where I am.
Yeah, and it's nice to hear that as well about, let's say, from the difference of at uni, and it's a bit more like with the presentation stuff, but then how you've adapted it
Yeah,
afterwards, and then, like say, to be that little bit more, if it's a bit more like practical and stuff as well, but still keep the look and the character of it.
100%. Yeah.
Well, it brings us on to like the new collection because you sent over a couple of images from the new collection. Um, so yeah, what's the kind of you want to tell us the kind of like the idea behind this?
Yeah. So yeah, so excited about it. I think romanticism is probably like the key the key kind of like factor that like embodies all of it.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just, I guess, elegant streetwear. And yeah, it's been so fantastic to create, to design. It's evolved so much from when I started designing it. I think I started I started drawing probably just under a year ago, and then actually started kind of like, I guess, start move things forward like January, February this year. So like it's evolved so much, which I've actually really loved to see, because again, it's like it's trying to enforce that timelessness of it. We don't want this just to be like, oh, 6 months and like, it's now boring. So
Mhm.
like really trying to enforce that, be conscious when I design is a really big one. And yeah, it's a lot of, I want it, I mean, every designer wants the person wearing it to feel confident, but I really want these like different silhouettes and different shapes on the body to be different, and to make, women feel empowered and feel like really strong, and like, feel good wearing these clothes. I don't want them to feel uncomfortable. I want them to feel fantastic and be comfortable in what they're wearing. And I like to think that's what we've created.
Yeah, well, yeah, it does like from like the ones you sent over as well. Is there like a favorite? Do you have a preferred type of like sort of like fabric or color you use or anything like that?
I definitely go towards the more drapey fabrics, which tend to be the more expensive fabrics classically. So, silks, silk, yeah, I mean, it's silk. It's finding a balance between that, trying to find fabrics with a bit more structure in them. So, like for the corsets, using a Duchess satin was perfect to get just a bit more weight in it. You want something that's going to fit the body but hold the boning, all of that. So I'd say I do definitely go towards the more like drapey, silky fabrics. I mean, certainly when I'm fabric shopping, I'm immediately drawn just by color, because obviously silk takes so well to color. Oh God, it's silk. That's going to have the price tag to match. But certainly kind of like, yeah, more drapey fabrics. I found this beautiful, I think there's a photo that you have of the flowered fabric
Hmm.
um on the bodice. So that was end of a roll. I got the last 2 meters of it at this little shop in London, and everything's been hand sewn on there, all these tiny little silk flowers with little
Hmm.
beads in the middle. I mean, the craftsmanship that's gone into that before it's been made into anything is insane. But like, trying to find some like really interesting fabrics. I think it's really important if you're working with, silks, drapey fabrics, bring in some texture. So you've kind of got that, I guess, contrast. I think they sit so well together. So even though they're silk flowers, it's still adding a bit more something.
Yeah, yeah. I've just got the image up here. And yeah, the details look insane on it. It looks really nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I know what you mean. So, yeah. Are there any concepts or anything you'd like to try in the near future?
Um,
Obviously, you've got
like
this new collection, so we've got that one first. Yeah.
yeah, honestly, like it's get this one out is pretty much the main goal at the moment. I
Yeah.
mean, there's loads of things I'd love to try. Like, there's things with like thermal plastics, which I think could be really, really wicked. In terms of approaching it, I have absolutely no idea. So certainly intrigued. Something that I haven't shared with anyone yet is we are bringing prints into this collection, which is something I haven't done before. So, and to be honest, I still haven't done it yet. We haven't made the pieces yet. But working with different methods of printing, sublimation, screen printing, all of that. So I think, yeah, I think, kind of continue on the route I'm going down. And I think there's certainly a lot of techniques I would love to try. But again, it's, finding the facilities where you can actually, try it, like getting the equipment, all of that. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I like, yeah, I like the kind of ready, like the experimentation and like trying different stuff and that. So, yeah, I'd be interested. I think I've seen some on Instagram as well. Like, I think maybe today, like with the printing and stuff. So, yeah, I'd be kind of interested to see how those all come out.
Yeah,
Um,
no. Yeah, sorry, go on.
no, no, go on. I was just going to lead to the last one. Really, was just any advice really for any other young designers.
I think like, like it is a hard industry. Everyone says it's a hard industry, and it's because it is a hard industry. It's very daunting. There are a lot of big figures in it, and it's scary, and you do feel very little in it, and like trying to make an impact in it feels so hard. Like just being brutally honest, like it feels tricky. It feels hard, and finding that open door to get in. Again, like where do you start with that? I think like one thing for me is like networking. Everyone says networking, but it is Instagrams, LinkedIn, all of that, spending time building up a portfolio. That's how I get all my opportunities at the moment. It's me reaching out to people and then hopefully them clicking on my page and thinking, oh, yes, her designs do align with what I want. But that's how you get opportunities and, making sure these are up to date, making sure that they're showing your best work, that it's a portfolio of not only like your final pieces, but like your process. So I think building that is like the best one I can give. And just like also just like put yourself out there. Like I say it to everyone, but like the creative assistance platform, assisting creative platform, totally butchered that. Something like that. If you put it into Instagram, it will come up. It's yellow with a black logo. But the opportunities that come from that are so fantastic. And even if you're not in a position where you could be sending work off, like follow the account, save the stories that come in, and follow the people posting the adverts and keep them essentially for a rainy day until you are ready and you're in a position where you can like start outsourcing. You need stylists or photographers. I just think like utilize it to the best of your ability. And like it's all available like at our fingertips. So just use it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Yeah.
Sorry,
Um,
it's so like, ugh, just use it. But it
no,
it really is, like if you've got to be passionate about it, it's a career that I really want, but like it can only be driven by passion and you need to feel, so strongly about it and just put yourself out there as much as you can.
yeah, yeah. I think that's it's nice to hear as well because I think people what hearing from people in the industry, but realizing that it does take that. It takes a lot of like, it's not doesn't just come easy, and it takes a lot of kind of getting yourself out there and then persistence and stuff. So yeah, no, it's always appreciated to hear the advice and stuff. So
Yeah, no, it is. And it's just yeah, it just like is a state of like keep going, keep pushing yourself, keep getting your work out there, keep sharing it. And I think also like an important one is like, like pay it back to other creatives. So like, if people are sharing your work, like share their work like you want to. I think a lot of people in this industry, like especially like people that I meet, a lot of people have to have full-time jobs like in other areas, pay rent and everything. And to be able to like make money to then like put into what they want to become, however that whatever that is. But essentially it's creative supporting creatives, like you've all got to help each other out because, you need each other essentially.